Welcome, I'm Brian the Builder, and in this video I'm going to be building the Cyclops from the 7th Voyage of Sinbad. I have built one other vinyl model kit, a Spider-Man from Polar Lights I believe, years ago. The kits themselves are relatively straightforward, there's not a lot to it. The minimal part count's kind of nice. All the parts need a little bit of trimming just to make sure they fit nicely together. It's kind of funny, the little magnetized face with an aimable eyeball back there. I'd say the Cyclops really looks like he's thinking that you should like and subscribe. Well, based on the test fits so far, the joints are going to need some epoxy sculpt to help the transitions out. The smooth parts around like the neck and shoulders won't be too bad. The furry parts between the waist and the legs will actually be even easier because of all of the volume in the fur. It actually should make it pretty easy to hide those joints. I'm also going to have a little Sinbad character standing on the beach, holding a lamp with a nice little warm white LED inside. Should be pretty cool. So I realized that I could actually just use the thicker super glue to load up the joints and actually have enough volume that with the little pointy Dremel tip I can still carve the fur transition quite well. And if I have to, I can add a little bit more super glue, but it's nice. I don't necessarily for this need to actually mix up any apes. The super glue is going to work just great. The transitions will be completely hidden after this. Using the airbrush really is so nice for large surfaces like this. As you're turning the model around, you can kind of get into all the little nooks and crannies really easily, and it dries fast, so you can just kind of keep going around and adding new really thin light coats to build up the color. It's so nice. Let me know in the comments if you appreciate the H2O water label text back there disappearing behind my hand. I thought that was going to actually be super easy in After Effects using the roto brush, but my computer's a bit of a dog for that. So instead of just letting the idea go, I decided I would hand cut that mask and hand cut 7 minutes of it tracking behind my hand. Only used 4 minutes and then sped it up 600%. Not sure if it was worth it. So I'm just trying to add some really thin glazes of some warmer, fleshier tones around his central area of his face. Most of him looks pretty bony, scaly, patchy, and right around the face there, the nose and the mouth definitely feel a lot more fleshy, or look more fleshy. So there is, I think, I hope, some justification to trying to make that area of the face look a little bit brighter and a little bit warmer, a little more blood near the surface kind of an idea. I do realize here that I'm varying a bit from the movie based on how I'm painting the horn. The movie, pretty much everything is just brown and all very similar tones of brown. So I wanted to paint this a little bit more like, I don't know, a bullhorn, where it gets darker out toward the tip. That is the older, nastier bone that's been worn and beaten on stuff. So I like the look of this. After a shade, it's going to tone down a bit, but I do like the idea that it gets darker toward the end. The movie is pretty hard to tell, but since the Cyclops came with a medium brown eye, I would imagine that's probably the correct color. I'm still actually going to vary from that. Based on this overall color scheme, I really feel like green, or greenish, is going to be a much better balance and pop and look a little bit cooler. It's not going to be easy to see because he's kind of looking down, but the green definitely goes with all the warm flesh tones better, in my opinion, than just brown. So this as a version of Sinbad, the main body of the character was downloaded from my mini factory, and I'll leave the link below if you feel like going and purchasing it. I did take the Model N 2 3ds Max though and replace the face with my own. So I have a 3D scan of my face from years ago that I actually try to add to projects, model kits, if possible. My little F-16 pilot has my face. So, this kind of stuff's just, for my own personal entertainment. But I think it's kind of great. just a 10-inch square chunk of plywood to kind of put a layer of foam onto, and then build up a few layers of the asphalt terrain effect from Vallejo, and then added another layer or two of wood glue and sand to build up that real nice sandy texture, and hopefully coat everything in a really good layer of plastic, really, so that after I pour my resin, which I've never done before, hopefully it doesn't leak in and destroy the world, because I've seen some really, really messy resin pours online, and I'm a little bit afraid. This isn't going to be a very large pour, but I'm still worried. So hopefully this is going to be enough of a coating where the water is going to be that I don't have anything to worry about. We'll see. I also kind of realized as this was drying here that I pushed that water texture a bit too far up the beach, and I don't really want heavy, thick water that far up. So I'm just going to use the dark sand color to tone the water back, and hopefully this works. After a few coats, I think it works out pretty well. From what I can see, a heavy, or a layer, I guess it doesn't have to be heavy, a layer of packing tape over my cardboard bits here should be enough to help this separate away from the resin after the resin is cured. I hope. So I'm just using a layer of clear UV resin along the edge to, again, hopefully seal this and not allow the two-part resin to be able to leak out and ruin my desk surface. This whole process is obviously sped up. This took 11 minutes total from when I started the resin injecting into that cup and then stirring it, and there's no way I actually stirred for 5 minutes. I was kind of freaking out, not keeping track of time. It seemed like it had to be stirred plenty, but again, I've never done a resin pour before, so I was mildly stressed. And soon, right after I pour this in, I realize it's not even close to actually being enough resin. So then I mix up more, even faster than I mixed up the first batch, and just pour it on top. So it honestly worked out fine, but it's probably not the right way to do this. This part to me is insane, actually. The packing tape had, well, okay, it stuck a little bit right there, but essentially the packing tape did not stick to the resin at all. It just pulled right away, and that edge right there, basically the edge of the cardboard was exposed, so the resin soaked into it a little bit. Not enough to actually hurt anything, but it was scary seeing that cardboard darken. I've never used Mod Podge before for anything. So again, more new, scary, my really cool resin pour. Right now I'm not sure at all if I'm destroying it. So I think this is the right way to do this. I'm going to add a little bit of water here in a second and then hit it with the airbrush and try to make it look like there's some pretty good watery ripples going on. After that Mod Podge dried, there's some really cool water texture on the top, but I still needed something to look like the kind of white cap foamy edge that you get up by the beach. So the only thing I had, and seems to work really, really well, is Vallejo Snow Effects. In hindsight, adding the shade to the sand on the base, or the beach, kind of pointless, right? Because after I do the sand mix here to get everything to blend into that surface, I'm going to have to go back over and repaint enough of it that it would have been easier to just not have done that in the first place. But, you know, you can't tell. It doesn't really hurt anything. It was just an extra unnecessary step. The bottom of the Cyclops' feet were gouged pretty heavily with my Dremel tool to make sure that there was a pretty crazy surface for the super glue to lock into, and then it was a heavy coat of the rubberized super glue, and then stuck down to the base and allowed to dry. The Gorilla Glue here mixed with sand really is to just create the transition. I imagine it'll help lock everything together also, but it really is more for the visual than the actual practical application of it holding it to the base. Basic wiring like this is actually very, very straightforward. It's really pretty hard to mess it up. Red to red, black to black, usually about all you have to worry about. Soldering can be a little bit more intimidating if you haven't done it, but it's also one of those things. It is quite easy after you just get used to it. So, you know, you're going to have to do it a couple times, get through the anxiety of not knowing how it's going to go, and then once you've had a little bit of practice and you know how it's going to go, it is honestly very, very simple. But again, like most things, right, it's easy once you know how to do it, so just takes a little practice. I found these on sale at my local art supply store, and for easily modified, adjusted color weathering chalks, these are a great way to go. They're just really cheap and easy to work with. All right, if you've stuck around this long, let me just say thanks. I appreciate your time. If you haven't already, please hit that like button, please subscribe, And don't forget, the grand reveal is coming right up, and I'll see you in the next one.